welcome to episode 11 of the All Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Bowen, and we are getting closer and closer to the start of the NBA's restart season, and we're getting more and more crazy news. But I guess I'll introduce again our co-hosts, Abdul.
What's up? What's up?
Daniel.
What's going on, fellas?
And Marco.
What's up, guys? Today's going to be a very fun day here.
That it is. So today we got the news that Bradley Beal will sit out the NBA restart as he recovers from a shoulder injury. Spencer Dinwiddie is also sitting out for an abundance of caution. That was his reasoning. So meaning the Nets no longer have him, DeAndre, KD, Kyrie, Nick Claxton, Landry Shamet has a coronavirus. I mean, there's probably just tons and tons more. But you guys, is this NBA season really going to happen?
I don't think so. I could see it starting. I could see it starting up, but I don't know if we're gonna make it to the playoffs as far as the restart goes. I think like the ball's kind of rolling as far as like testing goes and like guys sitting out and like I know like the whole idea of like 22 teams was to kind of add a little more excitement to give some teams out of the playoff picture a chance, but with certain guys sitting out and not being able to play, whether they tested positive or they're injured, it's kind of hampered a lot of like a handful of teams. So a little bit of excitement's falling out from there. And then like when you consider the case in the US with this, it's not looking too bright.
I mean, we haven't seen any stars yet getting COVID. If any star, like from any good team with a good chance and the chance the players gets it, I think it's over. As of right now, I think we're going because like only like minor players, kind of crazy. Like, say, oh, he's just a minor player, it doesn't matter. But I think the league kind of sees it that way. But can you imagine like the three big names, Kawhi, LeBron, and Giannis, if they get it? Like, are we gonna keep doing this? I don't think so. And think about it, like Bill is sitting, so the Wizards are completely out of the playoff picture right now. They cannot get in without Bill. Why are they going to play 8 games now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, same thing. Let's say the Phoenix Suns lose, as I said earlier, they lose the first 2 games. They're off.
Yeah.
They're going to play 6 games like for anything. So I think we might get only playoffs if you get what I mean. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the NBA, obviously there's a lot of money involved, but they brought too many teams, Like, the Wizards is an absolute joke now. If I was on that team, I'd be like, I guess for some players it's an opportunity to prove themselves, but it's a joke that they're going. And even the Nets, like,
Yeah.
no one from a team of significance except for like Avery Bradley has actually chosen to stay behind. So I think if everything does work out, like no one gets COVID or whatever, it'll still be a great playoffs because so far none of the teams that we think really have a chance have lost anyone of significance, I guess.
Above that, I
And
think
it's
if we get playoffs like without any big stars getting COVID, that might be the funniest playoffs ever because like we don't know what's gonna happen. Literally, can you imagine like Lakers no Avery Bradley, maybe the Clippers will not have Low Williams. Like the season is gonna be pretty much like leveled up. It's gonna be fun to watch. We were another. It's like unpredictable.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of a league anyways of where the top 4 teams in each conference are only going to be realistically competing. Like Victor Oladipo, he's sitting out too.
Yeah.
So Indiana's marginal slim chances, it's gone. Brooklyn, they're gone. Orlando didn't have a chance anyways. So like, yeah, what's the point of really playing those games? And looking into other sports, in basketball, they're having this called the basketball tournament. I don't know if you guys have been following that recently. It's like a winner-take-all $1 million tournament, and they've had their own little bubble in Columbus, Ohio. And it's been working out good, but at the same time, they're having these like last minute, one of the players tests positive, and they have to kick the whole team out because that player would come into contact with potentially another teammate, and then if he plays and he plays with another, and he plays with another team, they could get. So I don't know how it'll look in the NBA when they're, because I know they're tested at least twice a day or something crazy like that. If someone gets it, well, if they're in the middle of a playoff series, I don't really know how that's going to work. If they're going to like kick that player out, will they have enough reserve players? A lot of questions still that need to be asked.
Yeah, and they'll probably like postpone the game to make sure that everyone else who plays like tests negative twice at least before they go and play the next game. And you're not sure how that's going to play out, and I think the truth is we're going to find out because it's going to happen.
No, for sure. And like, especially when you consider like how much money they are putting into like actually being in that bubble, I feel like they're gonna be pretty adamant about it, like regardless of what happens. Something I'm also curious about, like seeing, is like I know they have like free agent signing period, like as of now, where if guys are opting out, they're able to sign like multiple guys, like test positive, and now you're like as you said, like you're short on reserves, right? So like, are you gonna play with a short like 8 guys on the team or like 10 guys, like whatever the case may be? Like, what happens to teams who have a shorter roster because of that, or are they just treated as an injury ravaged team? You know what I mean? Like if they lose a key guy, whatever the case may be, are you gonna allow guys to be brought in from outside of the bubble to be signed with a team and play? Like there's so many like unknowns that I don't even think like the league has like actually been able to go through because they don't know what's gonna happen themselves. But it leaves more questions than answers.
Like everyone must be so nervous. Like each player just thinking like, man, I could test positive tomorrow. Every single day, you're just like praying you're good.
The Bucks facility was closed yesterday, right? Bucks and Kings
The Heat
facilities were
one,
closed.
Miami's too.
Yeah.
The only 3 teams don't have any problems so far. Rockets, Celtics, and Raptors, guys.
Like,
well,
I don't know.
I know there's been problems with the pool of players, like you're saying, Abdul, eligible replacement players.
Yeah.
So like players that haven't played on an NBA roster this year are ineligible to be signed, like Jamal Crawford, those kind of vets, and it kind of really hamstrings teams if let's say you have 3 coronavirus testing and you have expanded rosters, you need to sign 3. You're going deep into this D League pool or a bunch of like college guys that I feel like you could sign a lot better if they kind of opened up the parameters for signing players. But they must have some good reason to make this kind of specific bubble of the eligible replacement players.
That was also interesting because you'd think that like it would be treated the same way as far as like guys who've played and haven't played. It's just more like you'd think it would be more so of a factor of like, is he healthy or not? So
Yeah.
I found that interesting as well, because some guys just like it. I feel like it, in a sense, can kind of limit teams because it's not like you can just pick players off from other teams as well, right? It's not like there's an actual like free agent. It's not an actual free agent period where guys are off their deals and whatnot. Like everyone's still under contract, and it's like whoever just hasn't played, whoever has been like released from a team. So I guess like guys like Isaiah Thomas may be able to get a chance, but who knows who signs them, right?
Isaiah could come back to the Celtics. I would love that. Like
that'd be great.
He doesn't have to play like a blowout game. He can just like drop in, hit a tree. That's gonna be awesome.
Kemba's gonna go down, and then IT's time to shine.
Can you guys imagine that? Like NBA Finals, Kemba goes down, Isaiah Thomas comes, like Celtics are the champions. That would be like the second best narrative behind.
That'd be
Westbrook winning it all.
Oh please. That would be like.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, though. Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, like Isaiah takes down the Lakers, who are missing LeBron, AD, and their team.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. I know the MLS has a MLS's back tournament, and they've had like 2 or 3 teams that have pulled out already of
Oh,
that
yeah.
tournament because of testing. And then in the MLB, you have a bunch of players saying, "I don't feel comfortable playing." You haven't really gotten a lot of NBA players speaking up about being wary of returning, like big names, for example. Like you had Dwight Howard initially, but he's back. But maybe when we get closer in and there's more positive tests, you might hear like a I don't know, like yeah, maybe like one of the big guys like a Giannis say, "Oh, this I don't feel good about this." But at
Yeah,
the same time, you kind of
I
think for those 6 or 7 teams that they want to win, so they're not going to say that, right?
yeah,
I think that plays into like what this season really means to certain guys, especially like for like in the name of like their legacies, or even like starting one for themselves, if you know what I mean. Like, um, I guess certain guys just have more on the line than others, or that's how they view it. And it's like they'd obvious like some guys. I guess it depends on how you view like how seriously you take it and how much they trust like the NBA's plan. Um, I think that can play a factor. Like I know a lot of guys have different reasons. Some have like health concerns. Others, like I know Jason Tatum was contemplating whether to return or not because of he had multiple reasons, but one was like including like how long it would be that he wouldn't be able to see his son for, and like things of that nature because that also plays a factor. I know the NBA is allowing family to come in. I think it's by the second round of the playoffs. I'm sure,
I
but not
believe
from the
so,
start.
yeah.
one thing
So go
one thing
ahead.
that's interesting is in the NHL's bubble plans, players are allowed to leave for something like a birth of a child and come back, which I guess wasn't part of the NBA's because that's why Cauley Stein decided not to go. Right? Was it him? Was
Yeah.
doing for the birth kid? So I thought that was interesting.
Interesting that you bring that up too, because I remember I saw something about Gordon Hayward mentioning that. I think.
Yeah,
Um,
because his wife is due at some point, right? Like
in
in the
September.
coming months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's saying he might leave the team for good. Like, or did he say he would?
No, he
I
said
don't know if
he
it
was
was for
gonna come
good, but
back
he
later.
said he would definitely leave.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
but
would
he said he was
definitely
gonna
leave for
come
the
back
birth of
later,
his
like
child.
with the protocol and stuff.
Okay.
I don't think he's allowed to come back though.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
No,
Like,
they can come back, but they have to stay like 2 weeks grounded or something like that. They can come back. I saw it's in the rules. You come back, you test yourself, like you stay 14 days, something like that. But you have a protocol for coming back.
but if she's due in
Oh,
September,
so
then it's like he's gonna leave, come back, have to go through all this, and will he even
Well,
be
yeah,
back on time? You know?
yeah, 14 days would be a lot too for, let's say they're in the like, the semifinals or something.
Mm-hmm.
14 days, you're gonna miss like a whole series,
Yeah.
and he's a
That's
big piece for that. So
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if the Celtics make it that far and he's forced to leave.
yeah, but like just basketball wise, I don't think the Celtics need Gordon Hayward. I think it's great having him, but I don't think he's like needed for their success right now. Like he didn't play a lot of games this season. They were still pretty good. Obviously, I like him, but I think they
Yeah,
can manage without him.
I think so too, actually, and like it could be like a weird blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
Because like,
because
just the ball is not going to be in his hand as much, and
too many players,
probably
four
good. I
guys
don't
to
know.
score the ball is kind of too much.
Yeah, exactly.
they
And you
made it
already
work
got
pretty well
Marcus
this year,
Smart,
but I see your point.
and you already got Marcus Smart taking shots he shouldn't. So
Yeah, true.
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
saw
an interesting point.
I saw Brandon Ingram. I was asked about like returning, and he thinks it's not going to work out. He said, like, I'm not very confident, but they got us going, so we'll see. So NBA players seem to have similar feelings to us in terms of just kind of like skeptical about the whole thing.
I guess it could be a split between the guys who are on contending teams or like who want to finish the season badly enough to where they trust the NBA on this, and then guys who are kind of in a position to be more rational about it.
Right. I mean, I don't think like it's the NBA's fault if it doesn't work out.
No, of course not. Like
they're doing what they can. It's just
there isn't a lot more they could do.
No.
There was a WNBA player, Gabby Williams. They're going to their bubble in Florida. She posted on her Instagram story, off to Firefest. Which, if you guys know the Firefest, is the big shit show that happened. So I think a lot of those players kind of know the same thing. Like, yeah, we're going. We kind of have to, but I doubt it's actually gonna happen, right? Especially when you're going down to Florida of all the states, right?
I know, it's what a mess.
It's scary. I'd be pressed if I had to go.
Yeah, so teams are 6 teams are getting there today, and 8 teams tomorrow, and then 8 other teams on Thursday. So we'll see.
And they'll probably be tested once they land.
Definitely, and they've been
that when the test would occur.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other big kind of news of players out that you want to touch on? I think we kind of got all of them. I heard news that Kelly Oubre might actually play now, but
oh really?
I doubt that's really gonna make it. Yeah, he's they disputed the fact that he was gonna sit, but
whoa, how the
I
Suns
doubt that's gonna
favored,
make it.
Pardon?
Now the Suns are gonna win it all. Come on.
Yeah, for sure. He was the missing piece.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm very happy that Beal. I know we talked in the last podcast. We were just like, Beal, don't play, and he's clearly like, yep, there's no need now. It's just a no-brainer decision.
I mean, he said that, but meanwhile, Scott Brooks was like, he looks great. So,
of course.
Who knows?
That's typical coach, though, right? It's never, he's not looking too good.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a little segment here that Marco was talking about earlier. This will be kind of fun. We're gonna go through and list a player that we think has the most to gain from the title. So really somebody that is a great basketball player, but if they have an NBA title, it will kind of vault them into another level, like in terms of their legacy and who they are as a player. Marco, why don't you start us off then?
You want me to go like 10-1 or like just the most to gain? How are we doing that?
Just pick a guy. We can all pick a guy.
And we could
I'm
do dark horses later.
I'm gonna go with a pair, okay? Because I want to bring those two, and that's kind of obvious, and that's James Harden and Russell Westbrook. I don't think many people can benefit more from a championship than those two guys. I made a top 10 in a video a while back then. They were tied for second place, and they were tied because if it happens, a miracle, and the Houston Rockets win the championship, both of them could be the Finals MVP, right? Like, you could see that happening. And whoever is the main player, like, they're both gonna elevate so much their careers. They have already done so much in regular season. They need a confirmation. So I don't think you can say anyone else besides one guy that I'm not gonna spill out right here, and that would benefit the most from a championship. So that's Harden and Westbrook, my first two guys.
Who do you have? If you had to pick one guy, who would you put first for that?
First, like between the two, or like
players? Harden and Westbrook.
I think Harden, because he had more success by himself. He almost beat Golden State, twice. So there is that. I think if he won, he would he would like cement himself as a top 20 player of all time.
I don't know. He might still have a bit more to do, but I do think, yeah, for Harden, it's like if he never wins, he could be the best player ever not to win. Like,
Yeah.
there are other guys like Charles Barkley and shit, but I don't feel the same as strongly about that as like with Westbrook. With Harden, I really feel like if he doesn't win, everyone's gonna look back and be like, damn, like.
No, but like think Westbrook in the point of point guards, because they have great point guards who have never won it, like Chris Paul, Steve Nash, John Stockton.
Yeah.
Like Gary Payton won one later in his career, like he was not a main player. So if Westbrook wins, he's kind of ahead of these guys,
Yeah.
Great regular seasons, led a team MVP, championship.
Because as much as Westbrook gets ragged on for a lot of things, like he's accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
As far as like a resume goes, you know what I mean? And like he's done just about everything besides win a ring. So I see your point on that one too.
It's so massive for him, no doubt.
Yeah.
I have an interesting similarity with Harden though. I was thinking about this. He kind of gives off like Dirk Nowitzki in terms of career arc. Like, like in Dirk's early years, he was the go-to scorer, not good defender. He matched up with a good point guard like Steve Nash, but he never won, and he got that rep a lot. And finally, when he won and he was 32, he kind of vaulted into this top 25, 30-ish, like all-time players. But without that one ring, he definitely would have been like significantly lower, right? So I think they were kind of a lot similar. And Harden's 30, so he's got 2 years to kind of be around that Nowitzki timeline. But I thought they were kind of similar in how they've been playing the game, and hopefully Harden will win one at some point.
Yeah, I'd say the only difference there is like Dirk. I mean, he was still playing at like the top of his game, but you could see that he was slowing down, and then he led the Mavericks to a title. Yeah. Like once you started to see him go down, then he led the Mavericks to the title. No one expected it. Whereas Harden, like, he's still getting better every year. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, you don't really expect the Rockets to win a title, do you?
No, you're right. They're past the stage of where like they're the second contender or whatever. Yeah. So that's fair.
Being really honest, I think Harden did things in the regular season that Dirk didn't. Harden has the second best offensive season in modern basketball history. Only had one season by MJ. MJ had 37, Harden had 36, Kobe had 35. That's it. And
yeah, some of that's due to pace of play. But
I get it.
But
still,
No, yeah, I'm thinking more of like what that title did to the player. Like if Dirk didn't win that title, a lot of people wouldn't like revere him as much as good as he was. And I guess Harden too started as a six man, so didn't play as much his first couple of years. So maybe his peak will be higher. I don't really know how much higher he can go, right? Hasn't he reached his like max of scoring ability?
I think for a case in Harden for as well is like, I think for Westbrook it would have meant that much more if he won it in OKC rather than in Houston. But for Harden, he spent so much more time in Houston because he was only in OKC for 3 years that like it would cement him more within that franchise's history.
True. Yeah, like it's going to be thought of as Harden's team.
Yeah.
So that title is going to be Harden's. But if Westbrook is like the Finals MVP or something, then
yeah. But the point with Westbrook is like this. Think about Oscar Robertson. Okay, he's one of the most revered players of all time. He has one MVP and one championship with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem was the Finals MVP. The thing that everybody remembers about Oscar is the triple-double season. Like in 30 years, people are gonna say like Westbrook had 3 of those, a championship and an MVP. Why is Oscar Robertson better?
And they're gonna debate that. Those people are gonna be wrong because they're just looking at the box score stats on.
That's what happens, man. No, they're going to watch a lot of highlights and they're gonna be very amazed by Russell Westbrook. So
yeah, they're gonna be like, "This guy was the GOAT. Why does no one from that era like him?"
So that's
Hey,
it. A title for Westbrook and Harden, that would be so huge, man. So huge.
Yeah, it would be.
if Westbrook leads the Rockets to a championship and like is the MVP, I will like take back a lot of the shit I've said on him, Marco. 100%. Because I don't believe he can lead a team. I don't believe he can lead a team to a finals. So if he does, I'll be happy because I'll be like, wow, he's proved me wrong, and yeah, I would like shoot him up my leaderboard of like all time players.
Am I
100%.
smelling a bat here? Am I smelling like a bat? Like if he doesn't, you put it to two. Like why not? Like in your bag or something. That would be great, right?
But
You gotta buy. You gotta
not if
buy his
you like.
shoes.
Oh, I already have one of his shoes. His shoes are nice. I'm not gonna lie. Um, no, but I don't want him to like ring chase
Never
or
mind.
anything. I don't want him to ring chase when he's like 36 and he like hops on a team
No, yeah,
like
I get
laden
it. I
with
get it.
superstars. Then
He's
that's
gotta
not
win.
gonna mean it, right?
He's got to win as a great player, as one of the main players of the team. I get it. Yeah.
Top two, either get the MVP or be like right next to it. So
I
we'll
would
see.
take
This
top
could be the
three.
year. Yeah.
I would take top three. I would take top three. I'm gonna tell you that.
Who knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Abdul, you got a player?
All right. For me, okay, I'm gonna give a dark horse as a young guy, and then one that's kind of an obvious one. So, the obvious one in my eyes would be LeBron. Um, I think, especially like after the Last Dance documentary and everything, it's kind of been like there have been a lot of people ragged on him about his career and like a lack of perfection to it and whatnot, as far as his his status as a winner. But I think if he was able to be like that guy who actually wins with three different teams in two different conferences, like it would elevate his legacy a bit more, especially for a guy who's in his 17th year. I think it's like it would say a lot for him to be able to win this late in his career and still be in his prime and be the leader of that team. And then my dark horse, which is the younger guy in this case, would be obviously I don't believe that they'll win this year, but my dark horse would be Jason Tatum. I kind of look at him not to the same extent as far as like their level of play, but almost like what Patrick Mahomes is in the NFL in his second year, as that guy who everybody looks at as like he's like that next guy who's like coming quickly for everybody else that's ahead of him. And I think like he's having that type of year this year, and everyone's looking at him as like that future guy who's gonna be like the best player in the league one day, or at least like a top three player. So I think if he were to be able to win it this year, like it would be pretty crazy to see as far as like that being like the start of a legacy and to see like what kind of expectations everybody places on him after that as far as like what he becomes later on in his career.
No, yeah, like Tatum was sixth in my list, and I think the thing is, if he wins a championship, Boston hasn't won a championship in 12 years. The franchise with the most titles. If he wins a championship, he's already a legend in Boston. That's something, and that kind of gives him an edge over Luka and Zion and Ja Morant and these guys for later in their careers. Because like he already has one, the chip is off his shoulders. He can play like more lightly from now on. That would be huge for him as well.
I'd put Luka ahead in that sense still. To me, like he's the pick for future MVPs, multiple titles guy. And if he somehow got one already, it'd be like, man, what's this career gonna look like?
Especially with his team, right? It's now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see no chances of that happening. That's the point. Because like,
Yeah. Fair enough.
same thing. Like if Zion wins the championship right now, but like he's not gonna do it. So like
Yeah.
I don't see a 1% chance. That's the point. But yeah, if Luka won it, come on, best player ever probably.
That's an interesting perspective, Abdul, though, about Tatum. with the championship, and obviously he would be at least top 3 player on that team that would have won it, right? Probably the MVP if they do win. He would vault ahead of Luka Doncic in terms of the young rankings based on that postseason, regardless how much of an asterisk this year was. But that would, I think, just absolutely. I mean, Bill Simmons would go like, and all those Boston guys would go, "Oh, he's a savior." But I mean, I am intrigued by that Pat Mahomes comparison because, yeah, with the championship, he's vaulting to like another level.
Like he doesn't have the MVP from the year before, but like I could see a similar impact, especially considering like next season is his contract year. Like it would be pretty crazy to see in that sense as well.
What about him, like, and Lamar Jackson, like that kind of perspective? Because I think like Tatum is a little young. Like I feel like the MVP year, right? Like Tatum just kind of burst onto the scene in January-ish. So maybe he has a good run this year, just lights it up next year, and then wins a championship. That would be right on par with Mahomes in Kansas City.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah, he's not Mahomes yet.
No, not a $400 million player.
Or up
To
up
the-
to 500, man. Like this guy is gonna make $500 million. Insanity.
Just ridiculous. That's interesting, though. I want to touch on that LeBron. I kind of thought his championship, his one comeback against the Warriors, that kind of like just cemented him into that top 2 of all time. So obviously another championship will help, but I don't know like how much it will help because like he was Cleveland, right? And now that he has this great, top 5 player next to him in Anthony Davis, I mean, even if they win and like LeBron takes a back seat, it's going to help him, but I don't think it's going to help him like as much as people think.
No,
I think it's gonna be massive. Like if he wins.
Yeah.
I don't view LeBron as cemented as the number 2. I think he's the second best player, but I don't think he's cemented. Like you could argue Kareem, you could argue Magic. Like people still argue Kobe.
Bill
I think
Russell.
if he wins the 4th championship, then it's cemented as the second best player ever.
Yeah, I think the reason why I put LeBron there is because like I have Bron like first on my list by a mile because he's the only one he's literally in the GOAT conversation. Like there's nothing bigger than that. His legacy is what's going to be remembered the most. And if he wins this year, first of all, like since he's already won before, it's going to be less people are going to like, I mean, people are still going to do it, but I think there's less of an asterisk because it's like, it's not his only championship. Like if Harden's only championship is in this weird bubble thing, people might say something. But yeah, what if the Lakers win this year and then next year they win again? Where are you putting LeBron? Like, and his age and all these things, like him winning, it's just
like,
especially for a
so
franchise
mad.
like the Lakers.
To your point, Daniel.
Yeah.
To your point, I think there are only 3 players. So like, if they win a championship this year, is gonna be a huge asterisk. That's James Harden, Russell Westbrook, because like, they only won in the COVID year. And I'm sorry, like I know you guys probably gonna disagree, but Kawhi Leonard, he won a championship with no. He won a championship with no Kevin Durant, and now he wins the COVID year with no Kevin Durant. Also, by the way, so I don't know. That's something to think about.
You can't make that argument for Kawhi and not with Giannis and LeBron and stuff. Like that doesn't make sense.
The Nets don't have a third of their team.
Yeah, no.
But you're saying that like there's an asterisk on Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I do think
For being
because
the last
last year they shouldn't have won. KD was hurt. They shouldn't have won. Back-to-back championships, one of them no KD, one of them COVID. It's kind of strange, man.
You win back-to-backs with 2 different teams.
Yeah, I think that's gonna stick out more with Kawhi. The fact that he did it with two different teams.
No, yeah, because everyone loves Kawhi so much. I don't get it
There,
because
like, I could see how some
2019,
people may try to
KG's
put the
out.
asterisk, but
But yeah, I think that would be a little bit on LeBron's. But actually, let me tell you this. I was looking at the Lakers roster since Avery Bradley. It's a great team. It's like LeBron and AD, and I love Danny Green, but like the rest of the guys are like,
Well, yeah, man, I felt the
what?
same way. Like going into the season, I was like looking at the
yeah,
Clippers,
for sure.
looking at Lakers, and being like, the Clippers team is so much better. Like, I really don't like this Lakers team, but you can't deny the results. Like, they played
No,
so.
yeah, they're
effectively.
playing really well.
They're
Like,
gonna
they
play
played
each other
so
for a
good.
fourth time to start too.
One thing I want to add on LeBron is another thing. So he went to the Lakers, which, so many of the greats, the all-time greats, have gone to the Lakers, and pretty much all of those greats won a championship with them.
Yeah,
I'm thinking like Wilt, Shaq, and then obviously like Magic and Kareem. Like, every time someone went, they end up champion.
they cemented their legacies there.
And for
Yeah.
LeBron, like, what if he doesn't bring a championship to the Lakers? He'll be the guy who didn't. It wouldn't be fair because he came there later in his career. But
Elgin
Nobody's
Baylor
gonna
didn't
forget
do
it
as well.
though.
Elgin Baylor didn't. You're right.
But nobody's gonna forget it.
1,000
'Cause it's
years
LeBron.
ago.
Yeah, I think it's not like he doesn't need it this year because he's gonna get a good team around him every year he's there, in my opinion, just based on that they're gonna be a win now team. Like versus you look at like the Harden and the Westbrook where they're so like it's kind of like a now or never for them, or else you're gonna have to ring chase. I think LeBron has more leeway in that like yeah, if they don't make this year, they'll retool, they'll grab some other guys and like he'll always be like the the management will always be like just searching really hard for him. And in LA, a lot of people would want to come there.
Yeah, that's true. But also, we don't know how much gas he has left in the tank.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not
each
gonna lie.
year is so valuable to him. Like,
Yeah, for sure. Cause like he he's been going so long. Like his whole career has basically been his prime, and like, which is sounds so messed up because it's 17 years now. But like, it makes me
true, eh?
like it makes me question like, is he gonna have a like? Is there gonna come a time where like he has a drop off like, again another out of sport comparison, but like, is he gonna have like a drop off like Peyton Manning, or like, there's just that 1 year where he just completely falls off and then he retires straight after. Like, so I can see why like he he's making such a push to have like the season continue because I'm sure he knows that like time isn't in his favor as much. Like as crazy it would be for him to have like another 2 years of him playing at a level like this. Like at some point it's gonna catch up to him. So yeah.
Let's take Kobe for an example. Kobe was playing great until he got hurt, like 2013. Then it was over.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically. Like,
And
you
a
just
huge
don't.
injury.
Oh,
He was still Kobe. You know, he was
yeah,
still
he was
pretty good.
still balling out for sure.
And he was like one injury, that's it. And I think LeBron. I'm not saying he's gonna get injured, but I think it would be the. I don't see LeBron like gradually going down. No, it's gonna be like a one thing. Okay, no more LeBron. It's over. I don't see him like, oh, LeBron is not that good this year. No, that's not gonna happen.
I don't even think he'd play if that was the case.
It'd
Yeah.
be so weird.
What wants to
That's
Can you
play
true.
with
imagine like
Bronny, right?
LeBron
So.
James like coming from the bench? No, right?
He's gotta keep going till Bronny. Yeah,
Yeah,
gotta play with Bronny.
yeah. I even thought last year was a down year, and then I look at his stats, and I'm like, well, never mind.
Like, he
Yeah,
was
still
incredible.
another good
Yeah,
year, just bad team.
yeah,
I also want to throw in Giannis though,
yeah.
but like
I
I
was
don't want
gonna
to
ask.
like we can't ignore that. We can't ignore him in this because as much as we wanted to like bring in guys who weren't as obvious, like aside from LeBron. Giannis is second to LeBron as far as like the most obvious ones, just because like everybody would love to see him because he's such a dominant player in today's game that like everyone wants to see what would happen, especially considering like the fact that there's like whether he's gonna sign the supermax or not. Is he gonna have like a KD type of tour where like he plays that last year, but nobody knows what he's really gonna do because they couldn't win the year before? You know what I mean? Like there's
That's
so
true.
much at
Yeah.
stake, not just for him, but like for Milwaukee too, because
Yeah.
they invested so much in keeping that team together to where they can't really afford to bring in another star unless they're trading pieces for them. You know what I mean? Like they can only afford Giannis, but Giannis is that guy for them, and they do so well in the regular season, and they collapsed in the conference finals last year, but like considering they made the conference finals, everyone's kind of like, do they make that last push? You know what I mean? Because everybody's re-signed, but it's just Giannis that everyone waits for. So I feel like if they don't win this year, then like next year, like next season is gonna be a circus in Milwaukee, as far as like all eyes and cameras are gonna be on Giannis. Like what's gonna like every interview is gonna be, do you know what you're gonna do next year? Are you gonna come back? Like that type of deal. Like and it's gonna be crazy to see. That's the thing, and especially considering like we already hear like ideas or rumors of like, oh, like this team is gonna make a push for like Golden State's gonna make a push for Giannis, or the Raptors are gonna make a push for Giannis. Like he probably has
Giannis
like
is
he has the most. I want to say like he has the most on the line as far as like the current time goes, or rather more so than like his legacy because he's younger.
Yeah. I would agree completely. Like, I don't have Giannis as high because he's still so young and like he has so much time to build his legacy. But him losing, like, obviously he has 2 years still with Milwaukee. But if he doesn't win, then that might be like the biggest league altering thing because maybe he goes to Miami or something.
Because he's a
And
free agent after next
yeah,
season.
and that would change everything. It would change his career path, and maybe it would affect his legacy too, maybe, but not that anyone would blame him, I don't think. But yeah, like if he
It
doesn't win,
also
that's huge.
it also I feel like can have an effect on like the small market teams because
Mm-hmm.
it feels like the league is like everybody wants Giannis to win in the sense of like you can do it with a small market team because so many guys are like moving to different teams and like bigger markets and they're teaming up with guys and like not to say it's a bad thing but like small market teams are forced to build through the draft and it's like are we gonna have another case of like a Durant or LeBron where like this top flight guy who's like a guaranteed Hall of Famer like not even halfway into his career like leaves again to win. You know what I mean? And like,
LeBron. Sorry, Giannis is number one in my list. I think where you guys are missing it is okay. He if he doesn't win, that's fine. He still has like 10 years to win championships. He can go to another team. Okay, but I think if he wins the championship this year, like we are going to start talking. Is this guy on path to be like one of the five greatest ever? And I'm not pushing. Literally, I'm not pushing. He's going to be the MVP. He should win the Defensive Player of the Year. We voted in this podcast. Actually, he had one of the best seasons of all time, like statistically. His team won a lot of games. If he wins the championship, 25 years old, like before LeBron, before MJ, before KD, like younger than them, that's insane, man. You know.
And without another star, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
without
for
another
without a
Lino
second
said,
superstar.
guy,
he's more three.
nobody has done that. That could be maybe the greatest season ever if he wins the championship. I don't think I'm pushing. I don't think I'm pushing.
I think you could end up with questions of it, like as far as like
Yeah,
what
not
his
for
career
sure. Like
arc is gonna be. But yeah,
No, it's a good point because yeah, I mean, what if the Bucks win? And I guess part of the reason why I don't know if I can fully get on with that is like, yeah, he could win this year, And then it's like, man, what else could he do? He could win 3 in a row and yada yada. I don't trust that Bucks team is going to stay good for that long. Maybe.
Me neither.
They're an older team and they don't have cap space.
Yeah, like I don't see them being like the dynasty of the 2020s.
No.
Okay, but what if he wins and then like a big guy goes to Milwaukee?
And they make
I
a
don't think
trade?
it's gonna happen.
They'd have to trade for him.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
fine
that
with that. I'm fine with that. You know the guy,
I
right?
think the
Like, I gotta say
championship.
it.
Wait, are you
No,
saying
Devin
Embiid?
Booker. Yeah.
Oh,
No, Devin
I thought you were
Booker.
talking about a big man.
I think
Try
Beal
fitting
looks
his.
like
Try fitting his $40 million salary into their cap space, but no, I think a championship for Giannis this year might be the opposite effect. It's like he wins, he's with Milwaukee. Next year, let's say they lose, right? Like back to back will be tough. Then he'll probably leave. He'll be like, "Oh, I already gave you guys what you wanted. You have a chance. Now let's move on. Let's team up with someone else and let's win 3 straight."
In the
Right?
sense of like we can't get better.
Yeah, and it's just like, what else do you want from me? Like I took this team that's good, but you know, like I am the guy here. Like why would he kind of resign with like an aging core around him when he already gave Milwaukee what they wanted?
yeah. I mean,
Like,
but
I see your
You can look
point.
at it both ways.
he's like
But-
talks about like loyalty and stuff, and
You never know in the
winning
NBA
the
either.
chip would take the pressure off. He might be like, "Word, I can
Yeah.
stay now." The pressure of winning is gone, but you're
Or
you're
the other
right.
way.
It would maybe be the smarter move for him to win, and even if he wins, leave.
I agree. They can't really like he's the youngest of that core, like their main core of guys. He's the youngest one, right? Like
Right.
Middleton is turning 29 this year. I know Lopez is in his 30s. Like you talk about George Hill, he is too. Um, a couple
Yeah,
of
the
their
young guys aren't.
a couple of their younger
leading,
guys,
right? So
but they come off the bench. They're not up. They're not
Yeah.
up and coming stars either. No, I definitely see your point. Like that would be interesting to see, especially considering all his loyalty speeches and spiels for the media.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one more guy. I got an interesting question to pose to you guys. So I know Oklahoma City doesn't really have a chance at winning a championship this year, but what do you think? What do you think like a championship would do to Chris Paul? I mean, he doesn't have to win it with Oklahoma City. He could even ring chase, right? But like, what do you guys think a championship would do to his legacy?
I think he would
A
be.
championship for Chris Paul, that
I
would
want to
push
push.
him
Can I
so
push?
high.
Can I push? If he wins the championship, being like a top 3 player in the team, like I don't know, LeBron and AD, I don't know. I would argue Chris Paul is the second best point guard of all time. I would do that. Like this
'Cause-
man has been playing at a
I would not.
crazily high level since 2008, man. Like 13 years, he has been great.
Yeah.
If he doesn't go down, they could have beaten the Warriors in 2018. We will never know about that. They could have done it. He was great in that series. He was phenomenal in that series. If he wins a championship and he's still good, not like 5 points a game, man, come on. At least top 3, top 4 point guard, definitely.
Yeah, that's fair. But
Yeah,
you're putting him ahead of Steph?
Like I can't, right? Because Steph like changed the game and whatever. But I don't know, man.
Chris Paul would easily. Chris Paul would easily not push the Steph Magic conversation, but push himself like just under them.
Yeah.
Because the thing with Chris Paul that stands out over a lot of other point guards is that like he's been able to play at a high level regardless of how the game has changed and regardless of who he plays with. And like
So consistent.
he
His
and
stats
he
is
can play
just
in
like
any
the same
system with
every year.
anybody, which is so hard to find in
Yeah.
point guards now, especially with how much like the game has changed. Like he's still a pass first point guard, but like he has that scoring ability to be that shot taker in the clutch. He's one of the most clutch players throughout his career in the league. He's always been that. Even when he was with the Clippers, he was that guy for them too. because they were big, heavy with role players as guards, and he was that main guy at the guard position. And then you go back to New Orleans, it was a similar case when he was with David West. And then in Houston, like playing with James Harden, like a lot of people question like how it would work, and it worked out almost way too good, way better than like a lot of people thought it would. And like his legacy as far as that goes, I think this is his fourth team, and he's still an all-star. He still plays at a level to where every team he plays on, like he takes them to the playoffs. He's been unlucky as far as titles go, but a ring would push him so far up.
And he's one of the
Because
best.
he's also been a great defensive player too.
I was gonna say that. He's
Yeah.
one of the best defensive point guards of all time.
Yeah,
One of the best defensive point guards of all time.
and I think if he doesn't win one, he could easily be forgotten when you look back on this era, because we touched on all these things. I mean, he's year in year out consistent point guard, but never no MVPs. You know, I could just see it, if he doesn't win a championship, and even if he does, like as a ring chaser, as a role player on a team, there's a good chance, like when people look back at basketball history, that like he'll be one of the forgotten guys.
I don't think he'll be forgotten. Like a lot of rappers name dropped him already. Like he's not gonna be forgotten. He's a very popular.
Like forgotten in the way that like Barkley and Karl Malone are, or more so Karl Malone. I don't want to call him forgotten, but like a lot of people don't push him into the conversation as much.
I mean, I'd say forgotten more than Malone. Like, yeah, like Gary Payton is a better comparison there.
Well, the tough part with him was that he made his first conference finals with Houston like 10 years into his career, right? And I was always kind of joking about like, yeah, I mean, he's not a playoff performer because he chokes in the playoffs, blah blah blah. You know, with the Clippers a bunch of years. So if they don't make it past, he'll have what, one conference finals appearance in his whole career.
Right.
That should be like a big knock on his. But if he wins a championship and he's one of the top 3 players on that team, I think that would make a huge difference. But as a ring chaser, yeah, I kind of see. I see your point, Daniel. Any other players you want to touch on before we wrap things up?
I think we're good.
Kind of got the gist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that'll do it for episode 11. Be sure to like, subscribe, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and we'll see you guys all next week.